They lied to me. For years, I believed my family was ordinary, until I uncovered the truth. What I found in our cabin changed everything. Secrets. Betrayal. A legacy of lies. I found the bones in our backyard. Not a dog. Not a deer. A human jawbone, with a single gold tooth still embedded in the bone. I was digging holes for my mom's new rose bushes when the shovel clanged against something hard. I thought it was a rock until I saw the enamel. I called my dad. He came outside, stared at it, didn't say a word, just turned pale and said, "Put it back." Now, I thought he was joking. He wasn't. That night, I watched him rebury it. Alone. No police. No questions. By morning, the hole was gone. The roses were planted. And my family started acting different. Red triangle pointed down whatever secret was buried in our backyard. It wasn't just in the dirt. It was in our blood. It started with a shovel and a rose bush. My mom had bought 6 hybrid tea roses from a local nursery, deep red, the kind she liked to call funeral flowers. She wanted them planted along the back fence. I didn't question why. I never did. We weren't exactly the kind of family that shared motivations. It was a hot Sunday afternoon. My shirt stuck to my back. I'd just gotten into the 3rd hole when the shovel hit something hard. At first, I thought it was a root, then maybe a rock. I dug around it. That's when I saw the curve of the jawbone. Yellowed. Cracked. With a single molar capped in gold. I froze. For a second, the world around me went still. The chirping birds. The distant hum of a neighbor's lawnmower. All of it silenced by the horror blooming in my chest. I called for my dad. He came out, wiping his hands on a kitchen towel, expecting a broken pipe or maybe a snake. I showed him what I found. He stared at it for a solid 10 seconds. Then he said the strangest thing. "Put it back." "What?" I asked. "Put it back," he repeated. "Don't touch it again." "No, Dad, we have to call someone. This is a person. This is real." He stepped forward and grabbed my arm, hard. His face was pale, eyes wild. "No police. No talking. You found nothing." He took the bone from my hand like it was evidence. Like I'd done something wrong. That night, I watched him through my window. He went outside alone, flashlight in one hand, a shovel in the other. He reburied it, then planted the roses over it, methodically, silently. The man moved like he'd done it before. The next morning, the hole was gone. 6 rose bushes stood in its place, blooming like they'd been there for years. At breakfast, Mom acted like nothing had happened. Eggs. Toast. She smiled at me with that same tired look she always wore. My dad didn't speak a word. And from that moment on, everything changed. They both started treating me like glass, fragile, see-through, breakable. Conversations paused when I walked into the room. Doors started closing behind me. And worse, I started remembering things. I had a dream that night. I was 6 again, sitting on the basement stairs, listening. My dad's voice. My Uncle Dean's voice. Something about a truck. About cleaning up. About no one ever finding it. I woke up gasping, heart pounding. The dream felt too vivid, too sharp around the edges. Like it wasn't a dream at all. A few days later, while my parents were out, I did something I hadn't done since I was a kid. I went into the basement. It was colder than I remembered. Musty. The overhead light flickered weakly. My dad had a filing cabinet in the far corner. Always locked. I tried the top drawer. Still locked. Then I noticed the toolbox. 3rd drawer down. A ring of spare keys. One of them clicked. Inside the drawer were folders. Dozens of them. Medical records. Court transcripts. A thick envelope marked in faded Sharpie, May 1985. I wasn't born until 1992. I opened it. Newspaper clippings. Local teen disappears after graduation party. Foul play suspected. A photo of a boy with a crew cut and wide smile. Handwritten notes in the margin. Deemed new. Not random. At the bottom of the envelope was a photograph. My dad. My uncle. Standing in the woods. Shovels in hand. The missing boy's name was Jeremy Harper. I Googled it. The case was cold. No remains. Last seen near the county reservoir. Declared legally dead in 1992. No mention of suspects. But a forum thread from 10 years ago caught my eye. Posted by someone under the name Ghost in Gray. It read, "Everyone thinks Jeremy just ran away. But I saw him that night. I saw who picked him up. A black pickup. 2 men in hats. One of them looked like my uncle. My dad drives a black pickup. He always has. That night, I confronted him. Who's Jeremy Harper? I asked at dinner. My dad's fork froze midair. Mom dropped her glass. No one you need to worry about, Dad said. I found the clippings. The photo. He stared at me for a long time. You need to stop digging, Caleb. I think he's buried in the backyard, I said quietly. Silence. You don't know what you're talking about, my mom said, too quickly. I didn't sleep that night. Instead, I went back into the basement. This time, I looked behind the filing cabinet. There was a cardboard box marked Tools. It was filled with old VHS tapes. I dug until I found one labeled July 4th Campsite. The year? 1985. The same summer Jeremy went missing. I borrowed an old VCR from the library and played it. Static. Then the image cleared. A campfire. Laughter. My dad and uncle, drinking beers. Then a Jeremy. Alive. Smiling. Sitting between them. The date stamp in the corner confirmed it. Then the camera fell. And screaming started. The tape cut to static. I couldn't breathe. I now had evidence. Real evidence. A motive. A timeline. A name. But also a horrifying realization. My family had killed someone. And I was next in line to carry the secret. I took the tape and documents. Stored them on a cloud drive. Backed them up to a flash drive and hid it in my car. Then I wrote an email. To anonymous@justiceleaks.org. Subject, Backyard Bones, Cold Case 1985. I haven't sent it. Not yet. Because something tells me this isn't just about a single boy. Something tells me Jeremy wasn't the only one. The next morning, there was a letter taped to my bedroom door. No stamp. No handwriting. Inside, it read, You think you know the truth. You don't. Stop before you find out what else is buried. I couldn't sleep. Not after reading that journal. My grandfather's words echoed in my mind like whispers down a long, dark hallway. If anyone finds this before I'm dead, bury it again. Or they'll bury you. I stayed up all night, scanning pages. Names. Dates. Maps. Mentions of something called Project Rook. He wrote about shipments, codes, transactions, and untraceable currencies. But the thing that chilled me most? A page torn from a newspaper, dated 1964. A fire. 3 dead. 2 names circled in red pen. My great-uncle Dean and my dad. Except, according to everyone, including my dad, Dean died before my father was born. So why was his name in that article, alive and well, 2 decades after he was supposed to be in the ground? There was one person left alive who might know something. Aunt Margot. My dad's sister. She lived in a weather-beaten house at the edge of Lockwood Hill, practically a ghost in the family. She hadn't come to Thanksgiving in 5 years. When I called, her voice cracked. You found the journal, didn't you? She whispered. My pulse thumped in my ears. How did you? You were always the curious one. I told your mother we should have burned it after your grandfather passed. But no, she insisted we keep it. For history, she said. So it's all true? I asked. Dean didn't die in 45? There was silence. Then a whisper. Don't come here. I drove there anyway. Margot's house was buried in vines and secrets. The curtains were always closed, but the porch light flickered like a warning. She didn't answer when I knocked. I knocked again. Then, slowly, the door creaked open. Inside, the place was cluttered, dark. Smelled like mothballs and regret. Margot was in a rocking chair, pale, eyes like glass. You shouldn't have come, she said, not looking at me. I stepped forward, showing her the photo I'd found in the journal, Dean standing beside my dad as a teenager. This was taken in 1964. Dean was supposed to be dead. Margot stared at it. Her lip trembled. Dean didn't die in that fire, she whispered. He started it. It unraveled fast after that. Margot told me about the Rook, a code name for something bigger than any of us. A network, apparently, built by ex-military and Cold War opportunists, smuggling, money laundering, and in some cases, disappearances. Your father and Dean were both involved, she said. Dean was the enforcer. Your father was the brains. I shook my head. My dad works in insurance. Now, she said. He used to work for people who couldn't afford to leave a paper trail. She handed me an envelope. Inside was a key. Brass. Old. Stamped with the initials LR. What is this? I asked. Her hands shook. The lockbox. At the depot. It's where your father and Dean kept the records. But don't go alone. The depot was a self-storage facility on the east side of town. Looked abandoned. But the power was on. I found Unit 47LR. The key clicked. Inside was a safe. The kind you'd find in a mob movie, bolted to the ground, rusted with age. It opened slowly. Inside, videotapes. Dozens of them, labeled with names, dates, some of them recent, and a thumb drive, newer, modern, labeled insurance. I plugged it into my laptop right there, breath frozen in my chest. The drive held scanned documents, wire transfers, digital photos, some of them of me. The photos were from my school, the playground, my high school graduation, all taken from a distance. And then one more recent, me, in a diner 2 weeks ago, eating with my friend Jonah. A photo I never knew existed. My throat tightened. Was my family watching me? I played one of the videotapes next. Static, then flickering footage. Dean, alive, in a basement, counting stacks of money, with my father. This stash gets moved to Red Hollow on Monday, my dad's voice said on the tape. Dean laughed. And if the kid finds out, we'll make sure he doesn't. My phone rang. No ID, just static. Then a voice. Male, calm, confident. You're looking in places that don't concern you. Who is this? I asked, heart pounding. You're the son of a man who made powerful enemies. Walk away, or disappear like he did. The call ended. That night, I couldn't sleep. So I scrolled through old local news archives. Found an article from 1989. Body found near quarry, identified as Gerald H. Sullivan, my dad's best friend. Supposedly died in a car crash. But here, it said he was shot. Execution style. Dad had always told me he died in a highway accident. I met Jonah the next day, my oldest friend. Told him everything. He was quiet. Then, finally, he said, your dad paid me to keep you distracted when we were kids. Not to hurt you, just to steer you away. My blood turned cold. You were part of this. I didn't know everything, man. I just did what he asked. I thought it was for your own good. I left without a word. I took the thumb drive, the tapes, and drove to Red Hollow, the town mentioned in the footage. It was a ghost town now. Abandoned storefronts. A single bar. Behind the bar, in a fenced-off lot, I found it. A shed, locked tight. But I had the key. Inside the shed was another lockbox. Newer, fingerprint scanned, and a file cabinet labeled contingency. I pried it open. Inside, documents showing fake identities. Passports. A deed to a house in Mexico. Photos of my mother. But not as I knew her. Younger. Holding hands with Dean. I drove straight home. Stormed into the kitchen. Where's Dad? I demanded. Mom turned, startled. He's at the office. What's wrong? I dropped the file folder on the table. Start talking. She paled. Her lips moved. But no words came out. Finally, she whispered. I tried to protect you. You were never supposed to find out. What does Project Rook mean? I asked. Mom stared at me. That's not the real name, she said. I froze. Then what is? She looked toward the window, trembling. They called it Kingmaker. And that's when the lights went out. The sudden darkness enveloped the house, plunging everything into an eerie silence. The only sound was the frantic beating of my heart. I reached for my phone, its screen casting a faint glow, and turned on the flashlight. The beam cut through the darkness, revealing my mother's pale face, her eyes wide with fear. Stay here, I whispered, moving cautiously toward the breaker box in the basement. Each step creaked ominously, the house seeming to groan under the weight of its secrets. The basement was colder than usual, the air thick with dampness and something else, something intangible. As I reached the bottom step, a faint rustling sound caught my attention. I swung the flashlight toward the noise, illuminating a figure darting behind the old furnace. Who's there? I demanded, my voice trembling. Silence. I edged closer, the flashlight trembling in my grip. Suddenly, a hand shot out, knocking the flashlight from my hand. It clattered to the floor, plunging the room into darkness once more. I scrambled to retrieve it, but the intruder was gone. In the aftermath, I noticed something I hadn't before, a slight gap in the basement wall paneling. Curiosity piqued. I pried it open, revealing a hidden compartment. Inside was a dusty briefcase, its leather cracked with age. I opened it cautiously. Inside were documents labeled Kingmaker Project, photographs of unfamiliar faces, and a USB drive. My hands trembled as I realized the depth of the secrets my family had kept. Back upstairs, I plugged the USB into my laptop. Encrypted files filled the screen. With some effort, I managed to decrypt a few, revealing detailed records of covert operations, financial transactions, and surveillance reports. One file caught my eye. Subject 47, Caleb Sullivan. My blood ran cold as I opened it, revealing a dossier on me, my habits, my routines, even my conversations. I was being watched, monitored like a lab rat. Fury boiling, I confronted my mother. "How long have you been spying on me?" I demanded, slamming the dossier onto the kitchen table. Her eyes welled with tears. "It was for your protection," she whispered. "Protection from what? Or who?" She hesitated, then said, "From the Kingmaker Project. It's not just a code name. It's a legacy, one that your father and I try to shield you from." She explained that the Kingmaker Project was a clandestine operation initiated during the Cold War, aimed at manipulating political outcomes. My grandfather had been a key player, and my father had inherited his role. "But why me?" I asked. "Because you're the last Sullivan," she replied, "and they believe you hold the key to completing the project." I was at a crossroads. I could walk away, pretend none of this ever happened, or I could delve deeper, uncover the full extent of the Kingmaker Project, and expose the truth. I chose the latter. I packed a bag, taking the briefcase and all the files I could find. My mother handed me a key. "This opens a safety deposit box in DC," she said. "Your father left it for you, in case you ever discovered the truth." With that, I set off, determined to uncover the secrets that had haunted my family for generations. I thought I had seen everything. The photo, the names, the receipts. But I hadn't opened the safe. Not until now. It was 3:17 a.m. I remember because the hallway clock chimed 3 times and then once more, hesitating like it too was nervous. I had found the key, hidden inside the base of my dad's old fishing trophy, the one he never let anyone touch. I shouldn't have pried, but I was past the point of asking permission. The safe clicked open with a reluctant moan. Inside, there was no cash, no jewelry, no guns. Just a single folder labeled Operation Evergreen Classified. Inside the folder, there were documents and cassette tapes, labeled by date, some older than I was, and each one had a name scribbled across it. One said Gary Transfer, another, Pauline Redirect, and one in bold marker, Liam Terminated. My blood froze. Gary is my uncle. Pauline is my mother. Liam. I didn't recognize that name. Not at first. I found an old Walkman, still working, in the bottom drawer of the safe. I pressed play. A man's voice. Cold. Controlled. Subject: Liam has expressed knowledge of prior actions. Recommend final containment by Friday. Reassignment no longer viable. He knows too much. My stomach turned. My mother's voice responded next. Understood. I'll handle it personally. For a moment, I just sat there, listening to the hiss of the tape as it ended. Was this real? Was it possible my mother had, what? Handled someone? Was that what terminated meant? I flipped through the documents. Redacted reports. Newspaper clippings. There were missing person reports with faces that looked eerily familiar. Handwritten notes in my dad's blocky handwriting, dates, addresses, strange coded symbols. And a map. A hand-drawn, ink-stained map of the town, with 6 houses circled in red, including ours. There was a letter taped to the bottom of the folder. If you're reading this, then I've failed to stop them. But you can. You have to. The truth is worse than you imagine. You're not just caught in it, you're part of it. Start where I couldn't finish, the McAllister cabin. It wasn't signed. But the handwriting, it was identical to my grandfather's. I thought he had died of a heart attack. But now I wasn't so sure. The McAllister cabin was upstate, abandoned for decades. A family vacation spot we hadn't used since I was 5. I packed a bag. Just essentials. Flashlight. The tapes. The map. And the folder. I told no one. The road there was barely drivable. Trees reached across the path like hands trying to keep me out. The cabin looked like a ghost's memory, weather-worn, windows cracked, ivy devouring every corner. But it was still standing. I stepped inside. Dust danced in shafts of moonlight. The air was thick with mildew and memory. Every board creaked like it was warning me. But I followed the map. The living room floorboards were marked with a red X, just like on the map. I pried one up, then another. Underneath, a trapdoor. And beneath that, a concrete stairway. No flashlight could cut that darkness. It wasn't a basement. It was a bunker. At the bottom of the stairs, I found a vault-like room. Floor-to-ceiling filing cabinets. Monitors. Flickering security cameras, still active. Tapes. Shelves. Walls lined with photos. Notes, all organized meticulously. One whole wall was labeled Contingency Plans, Family Branch Delta. And under that label were files for every person in my family, including me. Each folder had a summary: name, date of birth, initial placement strategy, behavioral observation notes, potential threat level. Mine read, subject shows early signs of independence and critical reasoning. Recommend early stage observation only. No immediate threat. Next to mine was Michael's, my brother. His file was different. It said, programmed, receptive, cleared for integration. Watch for deviation. What did that mean? A monitor in the corner flickered to life as I approached. Footage from 1994. A boy in a hospital bed. Sedated. Me. Next tape, my mom. Sitting at a table with two men in military uniforms, talking about erasure protocols and developmental implants. Next, my dad. Signing something, then burning it. Next, Michael. Standing in a lab, eyes wide. A doctor placing a hand on his shoulder. You'll be the future of this family. We're counting on you. I stumbled back, gasping. My phone rang. No service. But it rang. Unknown caller. I answered. You shouldn't be there. My heart stopped. They're watching. If you stay, they'll erase you too. Who are you? I whispered. You don't know me. But I knew Liam. Then the line cut out. I left the bunker, half running. But when I got outside, someone was standing at the edge of the trees. A man, wearing a black coat, watching me, not moving, not blinking. I got in the car, drove, didn't stop until I reached a gas station 2 towns away. In the restroom, I stared at myself in the mirror. What was real? Who was I really? I looked down at my hands. They were shaking. Inside my bag, the tape still buzzed, still ready to reveal more. But I wasn't sure I could handle it. I hadn't noticed it before. One last note, tucked behind the final tape. If you found the cabin, then the truth is almost yours. But be warned, the family doesn't just protect the secret. They're the secret. Red triangle pointed down. And that's when I realized. It wasn't just about what they did. It was about what they made me. 2 days after my uncle's funeral, I got a letter in the mail. No return address. Just my name typed, not handwritten, on a plain envelope sealed with wax. Inside, a single sheet of paper and a key. The note said, the answers you want are in the old storm cellar. Ask no one. Trust no one. Especially not your mother. I stared at those words for a full minute. My hands were trembling. Then I remembered something Mom always warned me never to go near that cellar. Said it was unsafe. Said it was locked for a reason. That night, I drove out to the family's farmhouse. Alone. Flashlight, gloves, and a crowbar in my truck. The cellar door groaned open with the key. Dust choked the air. Cobwebs brushed my face. The stairs groaned beneath me, threatening to give way. But what I found wasn't just a pile of old tools and canning jars. There was a locked metal cabinet built into the stone wall, welded shut. I used the crowbar. It screamed as it gave way. Inside were 3 things. A file folder marked Project Meriwether. A roll of undeveloped film. A cassette tape labeled Play Only If You Know. I found an old tape deck in the attic, barely functional, but it worked. My father's voice. Clear. Cold. Calm. Whoever's listening to this. I'm probably dead. And if you're my kid, I'm sorry. I tried to stop this. I really did. But the family, our family, built its legacy on something rotten. And it's buried deeper than you think. He talked about the 1984 heist. How the family didn't just steal money. They stole lives. Witnesses. Whistleblowers. People who knew too much. They made them disappear, he said. Buried them in plain sight. We didn't just hide the crime. We became the crime. I brought the file to my friend Charlotte, a journalist who owed me favors. She took one look at the photos, the documents, and her face drained of color. This is national-level conspiracy stuff, she whispered. We developed the film. The photos showed my grandfather, my father, my uncle, and a man I'd never seen before. Duct-taped, bleeding, bound to a chair. In the background, the cellar wall. In the folder was a crude hand-drawn map. Coordinates. Symbols. It pointed to a stretch of land my family still owned. Land I thought was just woods and deer trails. Charlotte and I hiked out there with metal detectors and shovels. We found a concrete slab beneath the leaves. A sealed hatch. And when we pried it open, it was a bunker. Inside were boxes of documents, crates of weapons, and something I'll never forget. A wall with photographs. Dozens of them, each labeled with a name. Some were marked secured. Some were marked eliminated. And two were marked pending. My face. And Charlotte's. We were being watched. Every move. The car tailed us for days. Lights flickered at night. Phone lines clicked. We knew what it meant. They were still active. Still hiding things. Still eliminating threats. My mother called. Calm. Too calm. I need to talk to you. Privately. No phones. No recordings. I met her at the park, public enough to feel safe. She wore sunglasses and gloves. A silk scarf like some more movie star. You've seen it, haven't you? She said, voice flat. I nodded. You don't know what you're doing, she whispered. You think you're uncovering corruption, but you're tearing apart something older than you can imagine. She confessed everything. She knew about the bunker, the bodies, the silence payments, the fake companies. And she said my father was the worst of them. He didn't just participate, she said. He orchestrated. Then she looked me dead in the eyes. But I stayed quiet to protect you. She slid a phone across the table. A contact labeled M. Call this number, she said. They can make it all go away. Erase the files. Bury the story. You'll be safe. Rich, even. But you have to walk away. Today. I stared at that phone like it was a grenade. I took it. But I didn't call. Charlotte and I went public. We dropped everything to a trusted contact at a major news outlet. The tape. The photos. The map. The documents. Within 48 hours, it was national news. Legacy family at center of 40-year criminal web. Senators resigned. CEOs stepped down. Indictments dropped. And my family? My mother disappeared. No one could find her. My cousins fled the country. My father's old friends turned on each other like snakes in a bucket. Charlotte got a book deal. I got death threats. But I also got peace. 3 weeks later, a car pulled up to my house. A man got out. Suit. No expression. He handed me an envelope. Inside, a photo of me. Charlotte. My address. Her schedule. One word on the back. Enough. I sleep with one eye open now. Security cameras on every door. A go bag in my trunk. But I did what was right. I tore the rod out from the inside. Even if it means they come for me next. They say blood is thicker than water. But truth? Truth cuts deeper than blood ever could. Red triangle pointed down, and I'm not done cutting yet.